Hi, and welcome to the 9th video in our C# for Beginners tutorial series. In the last few videos, we've taken a look at user input and error handling, and we've kind of foreshadowed these videos with being the conditional statements, with the else, if-else statements. So we're going to be taking a look at those today. We're going to be taking a quick overview of what the if-else statements are. And then we're going to kind of do a little bit more of a real life example using a few things that we've learned so far. So let's go ahead and let's actually get started here. So we just have a blank little console application. So the if-else statements in C# are very similar to those in PowerShell and a lot of other languages. So we're going to have our basic layout here, which is going to be the if parentheses, and then a pair of curly brackets, and then we can also have a else block, which will also have a pair of curly brackets. So this will be your standard if-else statement. Now we can add a lot more to this, which we will see later on in the video. So inside this if statement, inside of these parentheses is going to be a conditional statement. So that is going to be something that either equals to true or equals to false. So let's actually go ahead and let's just test this out. So let's say if 2 is greater than 4. So is 2 greater than 4? And we're going to say console.writeLine is going to be true. I am having some issues spelling today, so true. And let's just copy paste this line here, and we're just going to change this to false. All right, so if we actually just go ahead and we run this here, if 2 is greater than 4, we get false. So what happened here is the if statement executed. It calculated what was inside of this parentheses, which would give a Boolean value, which we've seen that in one of the first few videos. So is 2 greater than 4? False. So if false, so we're instantly not going into this first block. We are automatically going into that else block because 2 is not greater than 4. So if 2 is not greater than 4, do something else. So that is what we are saying here. So that is very, very much the breakdown. And what we could even do is do an int age here. Now let's just set that equal to 19. If age is greater than or equal to 19, old enough to vote. Actually, the age of voting is 18 here. So old enough to vote. And then we can say not old enough to vote. So we can actually run this here. And here we're going to say we are old enough to vote because I put my age as 19. But if I put my age here as 17, we are now going to get not old enough to vote. That is perfect. And like I've said before, we can actually add more to this. So we can actually say else if, and then a pair of parentheses, and then another open and close curly brackets. You're always going to have to put these else if statements before your else statements because the else is very a default. If none of the cases or none of the conditional statements are met, display this. So here, and the order does actually matter. So here we have if age is greater than or equal to 18. So if this instantly goes to true, it will automatically pick this one. And as an example for this is, let's put our age to 19, and let's just do age equals 19, console, writeLine, old enough to vote because you're 19. So here we're going to notice that we actually do not hit this condition. So let's actually go ahead and let's play this here. So we get old enough to vote. So as we can see, we have int age 19. We go if age is greater than or equal to 18, which is true, console.writeLine old enough to vote. And then we don't actually hit anything else because technically the else if age equals 19 is true, but because we met that first condition, it automatically exits out and it continues on with the code after the if else block. So what we would have to do in this case is if the age is, let's order this a little bit differently here. So let's say if the age is less than or equal to 17, we say not old enough to vote, because we know if you're under the age of 17 or you are 17, you're not old enough to vote, you need to be 18. Else if the age is equal to 18, you are finally able to vote. And then besides that, we are just going to say you can vote. All right, perfect. So let's actually go ahead. Let's just try this here. We're going to leave our age as 19. We are going to see you can vote. Perfect. Let's change this now to 16. We now get not enough to vote. And now if we go ahead and we do one last one here, which is going to be 18, we are going to see that you are finally able to vote. So you can add as many of these else ifs as you really want for all the different cases that you have. You just have to keep in mind that you're always going to want to put the more important ones first, and then make sure that you're not putting a condition that can be met earlier in the chain that can also be met later on. You would want the second one to appear. You're going to have to order them in such a way that your logic will work. So that really kind of depends on the type of application. As we saw in this one, we had to make sure that we were checking the age in the proper order. This way we weren't just instantly skipping over some of these other statements. So let's actually combine everything that we've learned so far into this if-else statement here. We're going to use the same example of the voting. So what we're going to do here is we are actually just going to say console.writeLine, and we are going to say voting age verifier. So that's just going to appear on the screen at the top. It's just going to say this is our application, console.writeLine, and let's go ahead and let's do please enter your age. So here we are prompting the user to enter their age. So as we know, when we're taking an input, it is always going to be a string. And let's name this in age. And we're going to set that equal to console.readLine. Now for the int age, we actually do not want to set that to 18. We want to take what the user says. So currently at this point in time, what we know based on the last video is we can do a try here, and then we can do a catch here. And then what we would be able to do is we would be able to do a, let's declare our variable up here. So int age, and then we would do age equals int dot parse in age. So it tries to parse this. If it works, then it'll catch on to it. And then we would have our catch. So let's actually put our if statement inside here. And then we would just have our catch as just console.writeLine. We would say error has occurred. Please restart application. because we don't really know what types of errors we can do. We technically haven't done any testing with this application to know what type of exceptions we might catch. We might already know some of those exceptions. So by all means, if you think that you know what exceptions you would need to catch, you can definitely feel free to put those in there right away. So let's actually go ahead and let's test this out here. Let me just zoom out here so you guys can see the entire code. So you guys should be able to see that. Let me just make sure. Yep, you guys can see that completely. Perfect. All right, so let's actually launch this here. So we're going to say, please enter your age. So let's enter something in completely incorrectly. Let's say that my age is 2, but I'm going to type it out as the word 2. So here we get, error has occurred, please restart application. So it handled our error really, really nicely. And if I start the application and I put my age as 16, we get not old enough to vote. If we restart the application once again, and we do please enter your age, and we say we are 18, we get you are finally able to vote. And of course, if we do 20, we just get you can vote. Perfect. So everything here is working correctly with everything that we've learned so far. We have our if statements, we have our try catch statements to handle the errors. The only thing that we really haven't seen yet is something that we're actually I'm going to show you right now, and that is actually the try parse. So we actually, in this case, we don't necessarily need the try catch statement. So let me just take away the try catch statements, and we will have our if statements here. So what we can actually do before our series of if statements is if we can do an if int dot try parse, and then here we're going to put in our string that we've taken in from the user, and then here we have to write out age, and we're just going to put a parentheses open and close curly brackets. So what this is, it's going to try to parse our string in age, and it's going to output it to our variable age. And this actually gives us back a Boolean value. So if it is successful, we don't necessarily need to do anything because that's already going to be outputted to the age variable. But we can do an else, and we can do age equals to 0. And we can actually just display something on the screen here of console.writeLine, and we can say incorrect age inputted, setting age to 0 by default. All right, so once we have that here, so let me just see if we can just combine all this closer together here so you guys can see it all. So here we are just checking to see if we can parse it. If we can, don't do anything because it's already setting it to age. If there's an error, so if it can't parse it, if it comes up as false that it can't parse, set the age to 0, display this message, and then just keep calculating. So let's actually go see how this works here. So let's enter in again our value of 2 for our age, and we get incorrect age inputted, setting age to 0 by default, and you are not old enough to vote. So if we actually go ahead and press play again, and we do, let's say 16, we just get not old enough to vote. We put in 18, you are finally able to vote, and we can do 19 and you can vote. So as you can see, you can actually do some type of error handling as well with the if statements, as long as there are methods. Like the try parse is a very, very specific method that by the name of it, it tries to parse it. It will give you a Boolean back, so you can use that Boolean to kind of handle it a little bit nicer. But definitely the try catch method would still work. We saw both of those in this example. So that's kind of combining everything that we have learned so far all together. In the next video, we're going to be taking a look at nested if statements and a little bit more advanced if statements. And after that, we're going to be looking at switch statements which can be used to replace very, very long if-else if blocks of code. So make sure to stay tuned for that. If you guys have any comments or questions about this video or any other videos, please let me know down in the comments below. If you guys have a specific topic that you guys would like to see, let me know down below in the comments as well. If it's something that a lot of people can benefit from, I will be making a video. If it's something a little bit more specific, as always, I'll answer you directly in the comment section. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and be sure to also hit that notification bell to be notified when the next video comes out. And I will see you guys on the next video.